Hey, Damian Mason here with a question before we hop into this episode of the Business of Agriculture. If you farm for a living, you employ a lot of amazing technology, from your inputs that you put into the soil to the tractor that you sit in, your combine, and the amazing data that it harvests. But has your soil analytics kept up technologically with everything else in your farming operation? I would venture to say that no, it is not. Sure, you check for your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, your micronutrients as well. But what about disease pressure? Do you know what diseases and what pests you're going to face next year? No, you don't. But you can now figure that out with Pattern Ag's predictive analytics. Think about it. They can tell you now with testing what the likelihood of facing nasty diseases, things like cyst nematode or sudden death syndrome, what the likelihood of you having this in your field. Then you know how to prepare, how to treat, and where to invest your money. It's using technology to make you bigger yields and therefore make you bigger money. Go to www.pattern.ag to learn more. They are pioneering the way in predictive agronomy. Well, greetings and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Business of Agriculture. It's me, your host, Damian Mason, with a great episode for you. I have Mike Way with Prime Time. He is the largest or one of the largest pepper producers in North America. We're going to hear about peppers. We're going to hear about water and the future of water rights. We're going to hear about doing business in California and why that's part of the reason he went and opened up operations in Mexico. So we're talking about produce, peppers, water, regulation, and the future of production agriculture in places that sometimes make it difficult. His name is Mike Way. The company is Prime Time. I met him in Missouri. He was a presenter at a conference where I also present. I loved his story, and I begged him, then I stalked him, and then I pestered him to come on here because I said, you've got to come on the Business of Agriculture. Anyway, thanks for being here, my friend.
I appreciate being here. Thank you, Damon.
Okay, so your story's pretty interesting. You did not come from a farming background, and now you produce literally thousands of acres of peppers. That's something that most people would say, boy, how did this work? So give us the quick and dirty on the biographical, because I find it to be a great inspirational story.
Well, I grew up in a town called Salinas, which is Northern California, heavy agriculture area. And you're right, my family wasn't in agriculture. My father was an attorney. He passed away when I was young, very young at 3 years old. And, the summer jobs included agriculture, hoeing weeds, doing the odd jobs that young kids would do at that age. And I ended up going to school at Fresno State. And I kind of knew what I wanted to do from the start. And, it's rare it happens, but exactly what I wanted to do when I got out of school, there was a job for me to be in the sales department of a produce company. And that's what started this. And, 30 some years later that we're doing what we want to do. And, we just settled on peppers in the early 1990s. And to this day, we're still into peppers. We've got a couple other items we work with, but peppers is our main business every day. I grow them in California, Mexico, both areas all year long. Every day of the year, I have bell peppers, which is a rarity.
So anyway, tell me about how it first started. So you were in college and you said, I'm going to do this thing. So tell me how it got started, because there's this illusion that you can't start into production agriculture unless you're born into it. And you obviously have done so in a very large way without being born into it. So tell me about the start.
Well, again, when I got out of Fresno State, I didn't have a job. I wasn't going to go to work for a family farm. And I did the same thing most people do, send out resumes. And I got a call from a company called Sunworld based out of Coachella, California. And I got put in the Riverside office selling citrus. And I'm a guy that doesn't like citrus. I'm not a big citrus fan, but I sold citrus for 2.5 years for them there. And that business didn't really intrigue me that much with citrus. So I got moved to the Coachella Valley and learned a little bit more about Coachella that year and a half I lived here. And at that time, Sunworld was having some issues, and we left Sunworld in 1992 to form a company called C8 Sales, which turned into be Prime Time in 1994. But in 1994, you can't have product in this business for 3 months out of the year and hope you're going to succeed. It's absolutely impossible to get retail business when you only have it for a short time, unless it's an item that nobody else can produce. So we decided that bell peppers was going to be our item, red, green, yellow bell peppers. And we went after the idea of getting a map and trying to hit every location in North America to be able to produce them 12 months a year. And, it took us about 10 or 15 years to get it all done. But we now have red, yellow, green peppers every day of the year out of North America. So we can ship out of our 3 or 4 locations in California to every major retailer and every food service company in North America.
By the way, so when you started the business in 1992 and then grew it until 1994 and changed it to the name Primetime, you said you didn't own any acres. You were a sales agent.
I didn't own one piece of ground at that time. I was working for a very measly salary at that time and trying to make ends meet. I tried to, as we got bigger into more retailers and figured out that they needed our peppers more year round, the owners of the company at that time could see that we were able to grow the company from a very, very small operation based in Coachella to an over $100 million company by 2000. So it was a deal where we sweat equity into some ownership of the company, and today I'm proud to tell you that my partner and I own 100% of Primetime. There's 2 of us left, and it's a good story. But
yeah. So I was, by the way, 30 years ago, the ownership was how many people?
There was 5 of us. Well, there's three major owners, and then my partner and I were very, very minor owners back then.
Okay, so at the time you just went out and said, if you've got peppers, we'll sell them. If you got produce, we'll sell them. And then you got into the business of producing peppers or contractually producing peppers. So take us down that road right there, because like you said, one thing is you wanted to make sure that you had access to stuff year round, and that was the big impetus.
So the original company was based in Coachella with about 1,800 acres that the company owned a few acres. We leased a lot of the ground, but we produced vegetables. And part of that, 2 times a year, we produced bell peppers out of Coachella. So our first attempt was to go to Bakersfield for part of the 3 or 4 weeks out of the year. We had partners in Bakersfield. We used their ground. Then I went to Oxnard and created a coastal operation, which is our largest operation because it's the longest time frame. We were able to harvest there from July until November. And then we went to Mexico. And that's where it gets a little more complicated. You got to really have some staying power to expand to a country like Mexico. But again, we've been highly successful in partnering with families that have been in the farming business for many years, honest people. Again, we've had our tough times also, but today we farm with basically some of the best growers that Mexico can offer, and we've had them for many years, and we hope to have them for many more years.
When you think about then the operation now, you call yourself a pepper grower or pepper processor because you obviously own some acres and then you subcontract some acres, but then you also just have Mexican producers that then you contract with them to grow. So you're a bit of everything, right?
Well, I would say the basis of Primetime, we are a grower, packer, shipper. I mean, we are based in California. We grow it, we pack it, we ship it, we sell it. We do it all. But then I do have some joint ventures in Mexico, which we still take ownership of partnership in some of the acreage in Mexico. That's the whole image of Primetime. We are a grower, packer, shipper, but we're also a sales agent, which allows us to have them every day of the year. And the same kind of situation, I don't jump in a different item, but asparagus is the exact same way. I don't grow one spear of asparagus in California, but we're probably, we've been in it 4 years and we've done some yeoman's work to get where we are in asparagus. And it's 100% out of Mexico, or not 100%, about 60% Mexico and 40% Peru. And I don't own any of it. We just sell it. So it's contract going with these growers that trust us. We trust them. And that's how most of this business works. You don't have to own it to grow it.
So that's the other thing. Like if I think about specialty crop, let's say I got guys I know that are in Montana, they grow hops, but they do so on a contract that they already know ahead of time what they're going to get paid and then the specifications, they grow it and then it goes to Coors, my favorite beer. But that I don't think there's a lot of people just out here growing hops, hoping some point somewhere, or, I'm sorry, barley. Barley's I just misspoke. Barley. Nobody's around there just saying, hey, I'm going to grow asparagus. I mean, but you're saying I go out and produce asparagus and I don't even know where it's going to go. And all of a sudden you say, no, we're going to take it and sell it and process it and handle it for you, because it's kind of on a handshake.
Yeah, it's an interesting business, and that's the reason why we got in the asparagus business. It's very fragmented. Nobody has asparagus every day of the year because an asparagus ranch only lasts around 45 to 50 days. So you have to have a ton of acreage to be able to have asparagus every day of the year. And again, we don't necessarily contract with growers. I'm not going to tell them what exactly I'm going to pay them it's April. I'm not going to tell you when I pay you in October, but again, they trust what we're doing. They'll grow it, give it to us to sell, and we work on a percentage, and that's the way it works normally. There are deals that I do take a piece or a percentage of the crop if the grower wanted me to. Some people want us to have skin in the game, which I don't have a problem with. But the bell peppers is a little bit different than asparagus, because I do own basically 90% of what we sell in bell peppers. We have a partnership in at least 90%.
So bell peppers are a different thing. You're not just brokering those and processing them to make a little margin on the bell peppers. You're the producer. You're the grower.
I don't use that word broker because I don't buy it and sell it. I usually I'm not really a broker. We are a grower, packer, shipper on bell peppers. Our people are involved in all the partners, all the parts of planting, harvesting, everything about it, packing. We have people in all areas doing things the primetime way, and it's been successful so far. I always think of the Shark Tank deal. If you go on Shark Tank and you listen to the guy say, "Well, I could repeat that." Well, good luck. I can just tell you, come on, bring it, because it's not an easy place to do business, and it's pretty hard to have them every day of the year.
Yeah. So, okay, I misspoke. The asparagus producer in Mexico, then you don't give them money for the asparagus and then take ownership of it. You just say, we're going to partner on this, and I'll get it processed, packed, and sold, and then we split. Is that the better way of looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, there's it's a little bit. It's the same kind of situation. They'll grow it, they'll pack it, and then they ship it across the border to one of our locations, and then we'll sell it from there. But the interesting thing is, I mean, let's go back to 2010 when I wanted to get into asparagus. I took 2 or 3 growers in Mexico that were asparagus shippers and put them in the pepper business. So I have 2 or 3 good-sized asparagus growers in Mexico, the Caborca area and central Mexico, and we put them in the mini pepper business. So we built the houses, or they built the houses with help from us, and we put them in the pepper business, and part of that was we get their asparagus to sell. So that was part of a partnership we had, putting the peppers and the asparagus together.
Okay. By the way, you said houses. Peppers are grown in greenhouses, even in central Mexico? They're not growing outside?
Most of the peppers in Mexico are grown in a mesh house operation, a controlled environment, due to the bug pressure and weather problems in Mexico. We do have some open field stuff, but that's a thing of the past. Almost 100% of the acreage in Mexico has some sort of cover over it, whether it's a mesh house, plastic house, a glass house, whatever it is. But most of it is a protected environment.
You moved to Mexico because, thank you. You moved to Mexico because of some regulatory issues, right? So I want to get into that. I want you to talk about labor. I want you to talk about water. I want to talk about environmental stuff. Before I do that, I want to remind our listeners, if you are a landowner and you want to diversify your revenue, as well you should, because the more revenue streams you have, the more insulated you are against downturns. Truterra can help. Truterra is focused on supporting farmers and landowners at every stage of their sustainability journey to help them plan, make, and maintain regenerative management practices to improve the agronomic, economic, and environmental sustainability of the farming operation for the long term. If you want to capitalize on ecosystem marketing, that means things like nitrogen reduction, where you can get paid to do so, carbon sequestration for using cover crops, whatever it might be to reduce your environmental impact, you could get paid for it. Go to truterraag.com, Truterra, Truterra, ag.com to learn more. All right, Mike, you're a California guy. Your office is in California, but you started leaving California and you went away, and you even went to a place that you said is a little bit tenuous. Some of the situations can be a little dicey. You did that because you decided California, with the water, with the environmental, with the labor. What is it exactly that drove you offshore?
Well, just to be completely above board here, I was not able to produce peppers 365 in California. The weather is not conducive in the winter to grow peppers in the state of California. I don't care where you do it. Now, again, I've done it in controlled environment in California, but we just can't compete head to head with Mexico due to cost. And again, I'm happy to be here in California, Coachella, Bakersfield, and Oxnard. That's basically right now, April 15th through November 1st. But I had to go to Mexico to go November through April, which is a huge time frame for bell peppers. So, we left Mexico, we left California in November. We go to Baja, we go to mainland Mexico, and then back to Baja, then back to here. It's kind of complicated, but again, doing business in Mexico is it's a challenge. There's no question. I mean, anybody that says that they can go do it in Mexico easier than you can do it in California, good luck.
So it's not because it's easier. And you did have some losses, you explained, when we were in Missouri together. But besides the seasonal part of it, you're staying there. Is it just because you can get peppers year round, or is it also because it's easier in terms of getting work or getting or labor or water, or what thing is it that you think, what is, besides seasonal availability, what does production agriculture in Mexico bring you?
Number one, seasonal, but number two would be cost. And again, if you put up X to X in a certain area of Mexico, it's really not that different than California if you don't have control of what's going on in Mexico. You have to have your own people down there watching what's going on and following the regulations that you need to be done. But I'll just use mini peppers as a good example. I really can't grow mini peppers in California and make money. I grow them in Oxnard, California. I have 300 or 200 some acres of them, but I only grow them just to have them every year to keep our customers happy. I can't make any money because it costs so much to harvest them, and I need to harvest them 8-9 times a crop. So that's the way that needs to be done in Mexico, because the labor in Mexico is much cheaper than it is in California. Yeah, it's a flat out fact, and there's no. I mean, if I can grow bell peppers in Mexico the same time I can grow them in Oxnard, it'd be, for a business sense, it makes sense to do it in Mexico.
Is that going to change? Is that ever going to? I mean, we talk about an ascending economy in Mexico. Is it going to change? It's not, is it?
I can tell you right now, I don't. At my age, 57 years old, I don't see it changing anytime soon. And I don't want to get into politics, but this government in California, our leadership in California, is just making it impossible for us to compete in California. The new regulations, whether it was water, whether it was labor, now all of a sudden this AB 2183, when they're allowing unions to form without having any verification, it doesn't make any sense for business, and it's just a tough place to be in California right now.
But water.
Well, when I met you in January, we were in trouble. What a difference 3.5 months makes. And
3.5 months of lots of snow and lots of rain.
Yeah, we're sitting here waiting for the allotment from the federal government. What's going to happen with Meade and Powell and the transfer of water, and waiting for the verdict to come down. And they bided their time long enough that I don't think you hear about water again for 2 years. We got enough water in California now to last for a little while. And if you don't put the politicians' feet to the fire, they're not going to make a decision. And I don't think there's any big deal now with the drought situation. It looks like the whole state's okay, and Meade and Powell are filling up quickly with the snowpack and in the Rockies and everything else. I think that the water situation might be okay for a few years, but now it's our time to figure out how to build storage and do what's right for the state of California. I mean, I've said it many times. We had a bond in 94, 96 to build a reservoir. We're 23 years later and we haven't built it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So we need to figure out how to store water in California to keep these growers and keep them here. Otherwise, California agriculture won't be here much longer.
Yeah, and I think that's been the big concern. And between the environmental or chasing diversity, equity, and inclusion, or some various other social policy that tends to be very left leaning. In the state of California, agriculture gets left out. Production agriculture becomes kind of the enemy of all of these different things that take political precedent. Go ahead.
And that's the ag community in California, from Humboldt County to Coachella to Blythe. 90%. I mean, the farmers are so philanthropic. I mean, they're buying animals. They're supporting all these nonprofits. I mean, to lose California agricultural strictly to the communities that they serve would be a travesty. I mean, just in our little valley here, the growers here in this valley support a ton of nonprofits, and they're very, very generous people. And again, I don't see Elon Musk and these tech guys supporting local events. They like to they like to go after the big time stuff, the woke stuff. They're big into that, but I don't see them supporting the local communities like the farmers in California do. And nobody wants to talk about it. It's a huge business that the local communities would lose as we shrink.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I know that, but even my listeners, a lot of them don't realize how big California is. It was about 3 years ago when I looked. California's ag revenue is number one of the 50 states. Number two is Iowa. California's agricultural revenue is 50% more, was, than Iowa. So think about that. The number one is California. Number two is Iowa. And California is only bigger by the difference of 50% bigger. So it's remarkable. Yeah. And it's an industry that is just any other state. I swear, any other state would embrace agriculture, and California is doing what they can to piss on it, frankly. What do you think? Do you think the pendulum swings back? Like, is there going to be something where, like, all of a sudden, listen, we can't lose Mike Way in prime time. They're running offshore because of seasonality, but also because of all the things we've just listed here. You're not going to. Do you expand? Do you think you're going to expand? And if you do, is it going to be in Cali or in Mexico?
Well, I need to back up to before COVID. Before COVID, we were in a position where, the company I consider an engine. We have so many food service customers, retail customers. We have to have so much to feed the engine. And we were having some, things were okay before COVID, but then all of a sudden COVID hits and we've got all this product and everything, all the restaurants are shutting down, and food service is 50% of my business. So again, we're sitting here in Coachella thinking, how are we going to stay in business with COVID? We suffered for about 4 or 5 months when it first started, and then the Trump food box program kicked in, which helped a lot of California farmers. It really did. The deal really worked well for a time before it got into corruption and before the wrong people got money in their hands and whatever. But again, so as we reopened back up with COVID, we cut back our production in all locations, not knowing what was going to happen. So last year we had the least amount planted that we could to keep the engine going. We happened to run into a crazy, this ag business. Last May it started from Salinas all the way to Yuma. I mean, we've had markets that we've never seen before. They have a virus up there in the Salinas Valley that created a big problem with lettuce and some of the items up there. But we had some crazy markets that were good for agriculture last summer. Again, if I go forward to this year, we're up 20% in all areas, trying to expand the business a little bit and keep the engine running. So we are expanding a little bit in California just because I'd cut back so much before. But I mean, if I told you I was expanding in California, that's not true. I'm about the same in California, and in Mexico, we probably will increase 15 to 20%.
Got it. All right. I appreciate that. I know it's difficult. A lot of people don't want to talk about some of the realities and some of the political realities because, you don't want to be this person that's, and it's unfortunate because how can you not?
No, I'm new to the Western Growers Board, and there's a ton of people on there I respect, and to watch how they go through the minefield of this politics. I mean, again, they're all heavy leaning conservatives, and they got to be able to keep their business afloat in a state where they've had the supermajority against them for the last 12 years. So I watch how they do things. I respect the guys that are in the agricultural field and the leaders in this business for the last 20 or 30 years. But it can't continue the way it's going, the way it is now. I mean, it's just every idea they make is against what we're doing in agriculture. I mean, it's every day it's a new regulation or a new hurdle to jump or whatever it is. And lucky we have Western growers and these guys that support what we need, and they're a good voice in agriculture. But it's tough. There's no question. It's not the easiest business to be in anymore.
By the way, what he's talking about is the Western Growers Association. Western Growers Association is a trade group for people like Mike Way and pepper producers. All right, we're going to close out of here talking about stuff that nobody knows. Peppers. My wife buys some and puts them on we put them on our chef salad. I like chopping up, put them on my salad. The thing is, when you talk about, and I thought it was neat to meet you, I think they're cool. I can eat about 1/4 of one pepper per month by chopping it up as a flavor adder to my salads. I don't think I'm a big enough consumer for you. What does pepper consumption look like? I chop it up, put it on chef salads. What the hell does it look like, and how much is getting consumed? It must be a lot more per capita than me.
It is. Again, when I say peppers, I'm basically talking red peppers. The green pepper variety is kind of, it's leveled off and probably down 30% from what it was in the 90s. But the red pepper is up 300% every year. It's first of all, the color in food service and the color at retail level. It's huge to have the red pepper on the shelf in the store level. It sells. And to be honest with you, the field red pepper is the best tasting fruit or vegetable out there. I mean, it's an item that a kid will pick up and eat. It doesn't need to be begged to eat it, especially our mini peppers. You put it in the child's lunch or whatever, and he can eat it, or she can eat it without putting anything on it. It's got a good flavor. It's sweet. Beg them to eat it. So the consumption of bell peppers continues to increase, especially in the food service business. If you go into Chipotle, if you go into Panda Express, somewhere west of Chicago, you're probably eating a primetime bell pepper if you're eating that. We have that business. We have a lot of good food service customers with us. And then we have some great retail business that if you're in the West Coast, we're most of the retailers here in the Midwest and even in the East Coast. We do a ton of business with ShopRite and the Wakefern Group in the Northeast area and Boston area. And we do a ton of business in Canada.
I like it. So what you just said there was that red peppers are the most consumed of all the peppers.
No question.
And then food service, and then you talked about Chipotle, and then that brings me up, since has the United States becoming more brown, as we say, becoming more Latino influenced over the last 20 years? Has that helped? Has that kind of helped consumption of this, or has ethnicity changed it, or is it just adaptation of we love these peppers more than we did 20 years ago?
I just think the fact that the red pepper is red and yellow or orange is out there on a regular basis, able to purchase every day of the year, not just in the summers. It's there on the shelf every day of the year. I think that's what's really helped. The color sells. It's amazing, but color sells. I won't eat a green pepper myself because it just doesn't digest well. But the red, green, and yellow, we eat them daily. So it's an item that we took a risk in 1996 or 1994 to expand into every day of the year, and as we've done it, the consumption's gone up, and we hope it continues.
Yeah, it's interesting. So peppers, okay, generally I'm guessing vegetable consumption pounds stays the same. What's lost? If peppers have gained, what's lost? Iceberg lettuce, I know that's lost.
Yeah, I mean the lettuce is no question the iceberg's down. The head, I mean now it's in the package salads and package this and that, but I'm not exactly positive what's gone down. I mean, there's so many different tomatoes now being, from little tomatoes to hydroponic to whatever else being produced. I mean, there's so many different items and SKUs in the produce business. These retailers have to figure out what sells in their stores and keep them going. But bell peppers are really a mainstay that they have every day of the year.
Last question, so that nobody thinks we're being Donnie Downers here, because we talked about some of the political realities, some of the regulatory realities, and doing business in the West for you. What excites you? Positive. What excites you? You're a 57-year-old guy, self-made, came in this business. Here you see it. You've grown. What excites you about the future of you or agriculture or peppers in North America?
What excites me? Here's the deal about produce. I can sit in this desk and no 2 days are ever alike. I mean, they're not. I mean, every day is different in this business. What excites me is my team, that the 120 people that work me full time and the 2,500 that works for us in the summer and harvesting every day of the year, in whether it's Mexico or California. It excites me to keep people in business, keep the mood of these people going. I don't know. I guess producing peppers and making a difference in the community, philanthropy, working with community people, and then producing what we produce and feeding the world. It's a big, we don't think we do, but if you sit back and look at the stuff we produce, just in this little valley I live in here in Coachella, we just finished the winter veg, and which broccoli, cauliflower, artichoke, red green butter, romaine lettuce, head lettuce. I mean, we feed the world. And it's truly exciting. It really is an exciting business to be in. You don't put it in a can. We have about 2 days to sell it once it's harvested, and so it's a challenge to get it to the right people and get it to somebody that more than it costs us to produce it. Not easy to do.
I like it. His name's Mike Way. So I just heard. So if I'm in the Western U.S. or not even, if I'm in the U.S., there's a pretty darn good chance that I'm eating at one of Prime Time's peppers, 1/3 or 1/4? There's a 50% chance I'm eating a pepper if I pick up a pepper, as it might be yours?
It depends on the time of year, but I would say there's a pretty good chance that you've had a Prime Time pepper in the last 5 or 8 years. There's no question. And we try and increase our customers weekly, monthly, yearly. Everybody that we do business with has been doing business with us for a while. So again, it's if you're eating at a Darden restaurant or a Chipotle or a Panda or Jimmy John's or whatever it is, there's a good chance it's one of my peppers.
I like it. His name's Mike Way. The company's called Prime Time. If you want to learn more just for the fun of it, go on primetimeproduce.com, primetimeproduce.com. They're in the pepper business, and I really appreciate you being here because I learned a lot, and I know that my listeners have too. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate it, Damon.
You betcha. So till next time,
I'm
Damian Mason, and this is The Business of Agriculture. Hey, thanks for being here. This episode of The Business of Agriculture was brought to you by Pattern Ag. You've heard me talk about Pattern Ag because I think it's a pretty cool concept. New technology that allows you to predict the problems you're going to have and therefore treat them before those problems cost you money. What kind of problems am I talking about? Pests and disease. Things like cordon rootworm, sudden death syndrome, cyst nematode, and a whole bunch of other bad things that happen out there in the field that can cost you money. Guess what? Pattern Ag will let you find out ahead of time if the disease or the pest pressure is there, and therefore you're treating it before it costs you any money. What a great concept. Go to pattern.ag, that's www.pattern.ag, to learn more about their product, their technology, how it can make you money, save you yield, and also where you can find a rep that can come out there and do the work for you. Pattern.ag.